Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Pijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Shodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Shodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya A reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19, text number 23. Chapter is entitled The Island of Jambudvip. Kalpayusham sthana jayat punarbhavat Kalpayusham sthana jayat punarbhavat Kshanayusham bharata bhujayo varam Kshanena martyena kritam manasvina Sanyasya sanyasya samyantyabhayam padam hari Jai. Translation. A short life in the land of Bharatabarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years. Because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharatabarsha in a lower planetary system is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieved the highest perfection, even in this short life, by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. Pervert. This is further confirmation of the statement given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bharata Bhumite Haila Manushya Janmayar Janma Sarataka Kari Karapara Upakar. One who has taken birth in the land of Bharatvarsha has a full opportunity to study the direct instructions given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and thus, finally, decide what to do in his human form of life. One should certainly give up all other propositions and surrender to Krishna. Krishna will then immediately take charge and relieve one of the results of past sinful life. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshe shyami ma sicha. Therefore one should take to Krishna consciousness, as Krishna himself recommends, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer me obeisances. This is very easy, even for a child. Why not take this path? One should try to follow the instructions of Krishna exactly. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki jai. Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai. Therefore one should always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer me obeisances. This is very easy, even for a child. Why not take this path? One should try to follow instructions of Krishna exactly, and thus become fully eligible to be promoted to the kingdom of God. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjana. One should go directly to Krishna and engage in his service. This is the best opportunity offered to the inhabitants of Bharatvarsha. One who is fit to return home, back to Godhead, is no longer liable to the results of karma, good or bad. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namini. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'll just read the translation one more time. A short life in the land of Bharatvarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years, because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharatvarsha, in a lower planetary system, is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection, even in this short life, by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. Hare Krishna. So in the first sentence of this verse, everything that is to be taken into consideration is put into perspective. That is the value of the Shastra. The Shastra is the compass that points us in the right direction, where we are supposed to go, what we are supposed to value, what is important, what is not important, what is detail, what is principle. The Shastra is guiding us, the civilization, should we decide to accept, where we should place our attention. So, if a short life in the land of Bharatvarsha is preferable to achieving Brahmaloka, what does it mean? It means that there is something there that is so valuable, so important, and so essential that it is worth more than millions of years in Brahmaloka. This is what we are being told. And it is elaborated there in the verse. Because one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection. So it immediately gives us perspective that actually the most important thing to be considered is the achievement of Krishna. That is more important than anything else. Even the attainment of perfection in so many other ways. Liberation is sought after by the jnanis and yogis who want mystic cities. Like this, there are so many prior, you can say, levels of achievement or attainment that we are offered, or even as something as simple as the attainment of freedom from suffering in one degree or another. But the Bhagavatam gives us what is actually desirable, what is a real achievement that is worth giving our lives for. That is the attainment of perfection in Krishna consciousness, and nothing less. And so the land of Bharatvarsha, where the Vedic civilization has been rooted, where Krishna has its pastimes like this, is considered to be like a treasure house. Because even in a short human life, one can attain ultimate perfection. And this we have seen over decades and decades, hundreds of years, centuries, thousands of years. The attainment of perfection by the different saints, yogis, or even people we don't even know about, who attain perfection in Krishna consciousness by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When you go to the Dham in different places, you see so many sadhus that you may never know their name, you would never know who they are, but they have attained perfection in Krishna consciousness. So, we are given the map, and how we should dedicate our lives. So the land of Bharatvarsha is, of course, considered to be extremely special, and those who have taken their birth there are extremely fortunate. And the purport to this verse, Bharata Bhumi Tihaila from Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is explained how the culture of Bharatvarsha was such, and of course it is still there to a degree, but it is fading. But the culture was such that, he says, 99.9% of the people are God conscious, or they have faith in reincarnation. They have some devotion towards God, towards the Lord. They want to worship. They want to participate in the rituals, and imbibe the culture in one way or another. They are born with this consciousness, And so therefore their opportunity for spiritual life is enhanced significantly. When we think about taking to Krishna consciousness from all different walks and backgrounds of life, it is worth to acknowledge that we have so many different types of samskars and impressions from the culture that we are raised in, the country, the people that we are around, or even conceptions of religion that we grew up with. Just like in some religions, a personal conception of God with form is not acceptable, or the worship of a deity is also not acceptable. So therefore, these different types of samskars can influence our capacity to embrace Krishna consciousness fully, and it can be sometimes very challenging. We have to conquer over, try to purify all of those impressions until we finally can come to some, balanced trajectory or steady moving trajectory. So these things become very important, or you can say they become relevant in the context of giving our entire lives to Krishna consciousness. And that can be difficult if we don't have those kind of samskars. So therefore, those who are born within the land of India are considered to be very fortunate, because it is very natural. It's very natural. There are no, you can say, doubts necessarily. At least that's how it is explained here. We know that today is a little bit different, but in the context of why he's saying how important or how valuable it is. Then he also goes on to explain how when there are some religious gatherings or anything like that, then the Indian people are flocking by thousands. This we see. If you go to Bhaktivedanta Manor for Janmashtami, there are 10,000 people. And it's all Indian people who are coming from all over the place because it's Janmashtami. That is part of the culture. It's just inherent in them that they should go for Janmashtami somewhere, some temple, wherever the temple is. When it's Janmashtami, we should go. Same everywhere you go practically. When there's a Janmashtami, if there's an Indian population there, they will show up. So this this culture is very favorable. So therefore, also he says, then also they have a responsibility to participate in the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And then, of course, he goes on to explain how, because of the Kali Yuga, and therefore these things are changing, unfortunately. But the opportunity, of course, is offered to everyone. That is said in the following verses. In the next verse, in the CC, it is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others, with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. By his work, thoughts, and words, an intelligent man must perform actions which will be beneficial for all living entities in this life and the next. So he's basically, then he's explaining in the purport how this applies to everyone, that we all have this responsibility to not only, of course, the opportunity is there to practice Krishna consciousness, but also the responsibility that if we have this knowledge, we are given this chance, that we should also share it with others. Of course, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that for one who spreads this message of Bhagavad Gita, of Krishna's message, then he is considered to be most dear to the Lord. So that applies for everyone. The participation in the spreading of Krishna consciousness, as was done by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is our very means of attaining the desired service of Radha and Krishna. And so, whether we are born in India or anywhere else in the world, that is the special opportunity that is given to us now. And of course, Krishna consciousness itself is extended to every living being, the opportunity to reinstate oneself in one's eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the recommendation is given. Give up everything else and just surrender unto Krishna. Surrendering to Krishna means complete shelter. Everything will be taken care of. Like it says here, Krishna will then immediately take charge and relieve one of the results of past sinful life. So we have so many births in this material world, so much karma to burn. That is the trap of the material nature, that we have so much karma to burn, and yet while burning karma, we're making new karma. So the cycle never ends, because the desire to enjoy is not purified. So we become stuck. And by our own endeavor, we can only go so far. But that is actually our great benefit, that Krishna is so kind, that he simply asks us to depend on him, and he will do everything else. Just like as he says, I preserve what you have and provide what you lack. That is God. That is Krishna. That he's always constantly trying to help us, give opportunity for us to come closer to him. Even in this literary form, he gives so many instructions. He shows his pastimes in order to attract our minds and hearts. He created this whole civilization within this material world, within India, that we can go and see the holy places. We can see all of his pastime places. We can worship his deity form. So many opportunities are there. That is Krishna's kindness. So the culture of Krishna consciousness is so vast and expansive in order to help us to completely absorb ourselves. Manmana bhava mad bhakto. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer me obeisances. So many opportunities are there to be completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And so that is as it says here, the best opportunity. The best opportunity is the opportunity to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. So, regardless of our... actually, also interesting is that even if we are not born in India, but even within our lifetime, to visit the Holy Dham, we don't actually understand how much benefit we get when we go to Vrindavan and we chant Hare Krishna and we engage in some devotional service. It is an extremely powerful effect that we cannot even really understand at all. What actually happens when we engage in devotional service, when we serve and hear from the Vaishnavas, and we chant Hare Krishna within the Dham, we make a rapid spiritual advancement. So even if we're not even living there, each time we step foot within the Holy Dham, it's like our spiritual life starts going, like this. And we can see even devotees who were not Indian, but they lived in the Dham. They gave their lives and lived in the Dham. We see devotees like Dinabandhu Prabhu, such incredible personalities who have completely taken shelter of the holy places. So, Even though life is so short, there's another verse, what is it, in the 11th canto, where it says that this human life, even though it is so short, it is so temporary. This body is just, it's here and then in a flash, it's gone, finished. But even in that such short period of time, the highest perfection of spiritual realization can be attained by the Sankirtan Yagya, by chanting Hare Krishna. It's something that's kind of inconceivable because we're so used to thinking of secular time. When we really stop and take it into consideration that we have spent millions and millions and millions of births in this material world in complete ignorance of who we are, who Krishna is, and our relationship with him. And for, you can say, a vast percentage of jivas who are cycling through the samsara, Krishna says, out of millions, only maybe one will come to me. One will come to know me in truth. And bhakti, what to speak of bhakti? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in Madhurya Kadambini that bhakti is sudurlabha, is extremely rare. Because we, by Srila Prabhupada's grace, inconceivably, we're in a whole international movement of Krishna consciousness. So sometimes we can feel like it is normal. Everywhere I go, I see devotees. I'm around devotees all the time. Sometimes they annoy me. So we become perhaps a little bit comfortable that this is my world now. I'm a devotee, I'm a Hare Krishna. I have my bead bag, and everything like that. But here we get a little bit of, kind of adjusting our lens. That actually this life, that we in so many ways sometimes don't feel grateful for. But in this life, this very life, is considered to be more valuable than the achievement of Brahmaloka. It's like, but we have no concept of Brahmaloka, so maybe it's harder to really understand what that means. Brahmaloka. Maybe if we could see it, maybe we'd. Whatever is the most valuable thing that you can imagine in this world, with whatever frame of reference we can apply, anything that is available in this world is completely inconsequential to the opportunity that is there within this human form of life, in a lower planetary system, right? We're like in the middle, there are so many planets above. So the human form of life, and especially at this time, the opportunity that we have is inconceivable. To attain a perfection, what is that? Anarpita charim chirat. That Lord Chaitanya has come to give what has never been given before. There was no opportunity for Krishna prema, or to speak of to the opportunity to love Krishna in Vrindavan, Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. I mean, this is a extremely intimate and pastimes where Krishna completely gives himself to his devotees. He allows himself to be controlled. The controller, the supreme controller, by whose will the entire creation is operating. Without him, nothing is possible. By his energies, the creation and manifestation and annihilation of all the universes goes on. Where the personified Vedas are singing his glories with unending, they're unending. And that same Supreme Personality of Godhead in Braj drinks milk from his mother and cries when she does not feed him, and runs away in fear when she chases him. It is inconceivable. It's important to reflect on these things. Sometimes we, may not always that we take it for granted, but at least that, to become a little bit. Yes, I'm used to it. But the devotee is always thinking, "Wow, how amazing! How amazing!" The opportunity to serve the most beautiful aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all of his associates, and one day also be a part of that entourage of Krishna and Srimati Radharani and all of their associates in Goloka Vrindavan. That is what is being given to us. There's one statement in the purport that I really appreciated, but now I can't find it. Anyway, he essentially says something along the lines of, we should only pursue Krishna. And he's like, that's basically it. You should pursue Krishna and nothing else. Which is interesting also because when you think about the context of India, there are so many different religious paths. There are so many gods. There are so many, traditions. There's just maybe thousands, of different forms of spiritual practice. And so, yes, those who are born in India are considered to be extremely fortunate. And yet, still, even amongst all of these types of God consciousness that are present in India, still, Srila Prabhupada says, but this Krishna consciousness, this is number one. Everybody should go for this thing. Yes, there are so many types of deities and etc., etc. But this Krishna consciousness, this is the thing. So everyone should pursue Krishna consciousness, because this is the most treasured and hankered after, even by Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lakshmi Devi herself. If you go to, I believe it is Bandirvan, there's a huge deity of Lakshmi Devi, and she's doing meditation with the desire to enter into the Braj Leela. Lakshmi Devi. It's like, can't really understand what that means. And that is, so if, what to speak of Lakshmi Devi, of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, even actually also in this same chapter, maybe it's verses before, but they say that this human form of life is so valuable that actually even we wish to desire it, because we are heavenly beings, and in the heavenly planets we have unlimited enjoyment, and because of this it's very difficult for us to think of Krishna. They say like this. So and of course we hear also how demigods are taking birth in the earthly planet when Krishna comes to do his pastimes, and even now we don't know. The demigods are coming to participate because they can understand. For us, we are tiny souls. Sometimes we're, very ignorant. We're always being harassed by three modes of material nature. But the demigods have elevated in consciousness. They have elevated intelligence, and so they can really understand. They really see that actually what an opportunity this is. So the demigods are taking birth in order to get the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness, to participate in Lord Chaitanya's mission. So we can see, just like, in the secular world, everyone follows after whatever the celebrities are doing, or the politicians are doing, or whatever, or I guess what the Pope is doing, or whatever it is, something like that. Krishna says, whatever great men do, common men follow. So in the Kali Yuga, who are the great men? The standard is a bit low. But we can see what about the demigods? What about Lord Shiva? What about Lord Brahma? Those are the great personalities. Lakshmi Devi. Those are actually, though they would actually qualify as those great personalities. And we see from their example, what is it that they like this? Even Lord Vishnu himself. So, when we look from that perspective, then we can understand. Even Sukadeva Goswami, he was a perfected being, but then he, the scent of the lotus feet of the Lord. So, like this, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then Sukadeva Goswami became a devotee of the Lord in bhakti. So these are the great personalities whose examples we should follow. Who we can take context of understanding from observing there as is described in so many ways, as we hear that this highest thing, this Krishna bhakti, is pursued by all of the most highest elevated beings and personalities, and it is that bhakti that is offered to us, opportunity to love Krishna in such an intimate way. And even in our daily activities, we have such a special relationship. We can dress him, we can feed him. It's like, literally feeding God with your hands. It's like such a wonderful, wonderful, special. So we sing about him, we read about him, we hear about him, we cook for him. It's just, we wash his clothes. It's like inconceivable. The level of personality. I don't know what the right word is. Jai Shri Baldev, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadramaya ki Jai, Shri Guru Nitai ki Jai. Yeah, even we see every day we can give him a different outfit. We can choose the outfit. we can put flowers. And so in this way we start to become absorbed in Krishna in so many different ways, without even noticing it, actually. All of a sudden we find ourselves thinking of Krishna so much more often. And that is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. That is the simplicity of Krishna consciousness also, you can say. And the purport he says here, this is very simple actually. Even a child can do it. So it's simple and yet profound. And so by engaging in devotional service, then naturally our heart becomes more and more saturated by devotion, by remembrance of Krishna, by the appreciation of his qualities. Our desire to speak about Krishna also increases. to hear about Krishna and to associate with those who have attachment to Krishna. So in so many ways our life starts to become molded by our attachment and attraction. And then every day is we are engaging with the most profound aspect of relationship with God, and that is bhakti. And that is what is most attractive to Krishna, he himself says. And so, if we can surrender our lives in this way, by this simple and yet profound process, then Krishna will invite us into his service. And so we will finish this cycle of repeated birth and death, where there is so much anxiety and stress and, suffering and everything. So that is the treasure box that is just open in front of us. Lord Chaitanya broke open the treasure house of love and distributing freely. So by taking and appreciating that treasure and also distributing it to others, then we make our lives perfect. What a life, even though short, but it offers a short life that offers eternal life. That is Krishna consciousness, a life in Krishna consciousness. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years that we live is just like, it's like a blink in cosmic time. And yet, such a wonderful thing can be done with such a short life. Of course, we saw Srila Prabhupada completely change the world in 12 years. What to speak of an entire life, if we can give in service, then we can also be perfected. So, I will stop there. And if there's any comments or questions, corrections, yes. Hi.
Thank you for this appreciation of bhakti and the rarity of it. And I was just reflecting on this point that you made about, there might be so many sages and sadhus that are already perfected or very advanced, and we don't really value them or see them so much. And the same with devotees also, right? In our movement. I was just reflecting a little bit on that. How do we deal with that? Sometimes for neophyte devotees like myself, difficult to understand how, some people they really follow it very strictly, and then there's others that don't maybe, but you feel also that they're very advanced, and then you wonder why don't they follow more, or maybe that if they could be a good example for others, then it could uplift so many, and like this, so rough love, and they show the way they love in different ways. So how to understand this? More experience in our life. So
yeah.
In the natural.
I know. Yeah. I know. Yeah. It is difficult because you kind of have your practical vision of devotees and also the kind of more transcendental vision. And both are true, like, what is that, when Lord Chaitanya asks Ramananda Roy, what is the most painful thing? And he says, to be separated from the association of devotees. So it's like, and then also, that, for those who are, what is that? What is that Bhagavatam verse? Harava Bhaktasya Kuto Mahaguna. That the devotees, they have all the qualities of the demigods, and those who are not devotees, they have no good qualities. It's like so in that vision, in one sense, all the devotees are special, but then of course there are different types of devotees, and then you get into the more practical things, as is explained, in Madhurya Kadambini, for example, and that there are different types of devotees, and that is also important. That must also be acknowledged, because it is only the Uttama Adhikari who sees everyone equally as, just pure devotees, basically. But for the rest of us who are still practicing, it is still important to make distinction, because for their benefit and for our benefit, for their benefit, as what is that? For the seniors, we offer respect. Among the peers, we have loving exchanges, and for the junior, we offer compassion, something like that, kindness. So distinction is there. We have to engage with those around us accordingly. And I think where the spiritual vision is relevant is, offering respect, and avoiding making offenses. Because it's even described that if someone is not a devotee, and you offend them, and then they become a devotee, then the offense counts. It's like, what the heck? Why? Why? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I don't really understand why that is, but
Where is that from?
I can't remember. I'll have to find it. There's one, I think there was a pastime that showed this. I'll have to find it. But so I think my understanding is to see all devotees as incredible, you can say fortunate people, is for our benefit, so we don't make offenses. And of course, in having that vision, it also supports in us being able to deal with them with more love. And yet at the same time, that distinction is important, and so we can find that balance of lovingly still using discern and discrimination, because association is everything in spiritual life. The association we have can either excel our spiritual life or seriously derail us. Both can happen. It's like a very wide spectrum, and you can find yourself here or here according to the association that you keep. So that is unavoidable. We have to make distinction. And especially, when you have a huge movement with so many different types of people who are on so many different levels of devotional practice, it is a fact that some devotees are simply not good association. And it's just true. Like some devotees, you pay obeisance from a distance. Otherwise you're at risk. So if we are naive and we think, oh, everybody's just amazing, I should associate with everyone. Everyone is better than me in Haribol Jai. But then we might find ourselves in a situation that we didn't anticipate. And so that is important. The association that we keep. And especially because it's also unique within the context of modern day devotional life, because there's so much social elements to the kind of religious environment of a spiritual movement, because everybody has their individual lives. They're all they're going through all of their an art does, and everything like that. And so, in addition to the elements of the spiritual movement, which are the temple programs, Harinams, Rath Yatra, all these different types of things, but there's also just so much personal life that is now part of it. So much socializing, all these different type of things that are part of the ethos. That is the complication of creating a society, of institutionalized devotional service. It creates all of these kind of accessory elements to it, So because of that, then the topic of association becomes much more important, I think. Yeah, not all devotees are just hearing and chanting, So you have to be really careful. So, and then, when we come across devotees who maybe we feel like, why don't they, do more or anything like that? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, I sometimes think like that too about myself. So it's like I don't know exactly what to say. What comes to mind for me is if we have the position or authority to encourage others, then that is a nice thing to do. Otherwise, again, it comes to association. Whether we are needing to be in how to say, whether we need to be in proximity, or can we encourage it in some way, or do we need to take distance? I don't know. These are the type of things that comes to mind for me. But if we can at least try to always appreciate on some level, that is good for our own consciousness at the end of the day. And as far as devotees who we don't always know who is who. That is, I've met now. I've had many experiences like this now where I've seen someone kind of be like, and then you get to know them, and they're actually very advanced devotees. Then you're like, okay, I hope I do, in the future, Just remember that I changed my opinion. So, sometimes the advanced devotees are not always, in the forefront. Sometimes they're in the background, and you have to seek them out. So, in my experience, if you can keep a consciousness, like that, or trying to appreciate, like this, being conscious about your association, then Krishna starts to send you, association. He also helps you to not recognize, but he kind of like draws you to certain Vaishnavas, and that's super, super helpful. So that's some things that come to mind. Yeah. Anybody else?
No, I just had a question regarding Brahmaloka. Is it possible to go from Brahmaloka to Vaikuntha Loka directly, or do they have to take birth?
Ooh, I would want to get a reference. My understanding, it is possible. It is possible. In the Briha Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumar, he just went from Brahmaloka. He went up and up and up and up. So it is possible, but I would want to get. Does anyone have any? I'm pretty sure that it is possible to go.
At the end of the creation, and they all joined Brahma. There's something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Theoretically, knows.
yeah.
Maybe not the fastest way.
Yeah, right. Maybe not the fastest way. Yeah,
This lifetime.
right. Yeah, yeah.
That's like
Right. You,
Say that.
if you attain Brahmaloka, then you might be there for a long time, which is nice, but like,
Not too bad, but
yeah, not too bad, you know. Just like, you know, like sometimes, you know, it's mentioned that, you know, if you attain, by a certain amount of punya, you can attain heavenly planets. But if you go to heavenly planets, then you enjoy there for like 10,000 years, 100,000 years. So who knows? After that, I mean, that's different. From there, you have to come back. So who knows what the world is like after that? You know, like, might not be very pleasant. But yeah, as far as I understand, and I would, that you can go from Brahmaloka. Mm. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Maybe it's a personal challenge, and it doesn't. I don't mean it like this. Just very interesting to me, you know, because you're born in the movement, and we just in the section where we hear how the demigods are going to take birth
Mhm.
in the devotees' family, and so that's also Prabhupada said like that. So how do you feel like, you know, growing up as a kid? So is it because we see that many gurukuls they go to a lot of difficulties also, and you know,
Mhm.
many of them they don't practice really maybe, or you know,
Mhm.
so how to understand this and how to like, how can we, you know, take more benefit or, you know, help more devotees taking birth from devotee families?
Mhm.
What's like, where's like, there's some mismatch somewhere, no? That
Yeah.
things are not like they should be if you think like in that.
Yeah. 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 I've thought about this a lot,
Mm.
and it is a bit of a you know, like a kind of confuses the brain why it happens like so profoundly. Like, it's kind of. I kind of first I was thinking I had this theory that okay, yeah, maybe if someone is taking birth from, you know, some heavenly planet, then that enjoying spirit is so strong, you know, that it's like you come into this world and you're just like you want to enjoy it. You have that samskar. That was kind of like a theory. I was like, maybe, but I don't think it's like I don't think every single person who's born in the movement was a demigod. You know, like that's a little bit silly. You know. And anyway, 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You know, when Arjuna asks what happens to a yogi who has not finished their journey, he says that's one of the possibilities. They can be born in a family of devotees. So I think that's more likely that you're simply continuing from your previous life. And I would say one thing is that even though yes, it is a blessing, but I think, you know, my whole life I've been hearing, "Oh my God, you're so fortunate! Wow, amazing! Wow, horrible! You guys are like so amazing." You know, so maybe you feel some complacency after that if you're being told that dozens and dozens of times growing up, and you feel like, "Oh, I guess I just need to like just exist and and I'm on my way." You know? So yeah, it is a difficult thing to understand. I feel like it's similar to people who are born in India,
That's what I was saying.
in the sense that, like, yes, they have the samskars, they have the impressions, they have the culture, but something still needs to happen. There needs to be an environment created. Otherwise, they're just like basically a Hindu for their whole life. You know, they're just like a religious person, but they don't really like take it up seriously. That we see all the time. You know, like even amongst Indians, it's not like every Indian is like, "Oh, Krishna conscious, yeah, of course." Like, you know, that doesn't happen. You know, or just, yeah, or any kind of like, you know, of the bona fide traditions of India. We don't see that just because someone is Indian that they're just like, "Oh yeah, of course I'm giving my life to, you know, this." So I think of it kind of like that there needs to be some facility to fan the flame, you know. And then when it comes alive, then it really just carries you, you know, because there are certain impressions or samskars that go a long way, you know, in my experience. One of them being like a natural affinity for taking shelter of Krishna in difficult times, for example. You know, you then it's like that. There are a lot of like kind of subtle things that come into play at different times of your life, but that's only if you're trying to live a Krishna conscious life. But if you live a material life, then it's like all of those impressions have no like function, basically, you know. So you're just a religious person. So yeah, it seems to me like kind of like time bombs, you know. But a bomb only goes off if you pull the thing or if you set the timer, you know. Otherwise, it's just there. It doesn't do anything, you know. It just exists. Its value is inherent in the function of what it does. But until it's activated, then nothing will really happen. Unless the samskara is strong enough that they're willing to do by their own volition. But from what I've seen, it's just more of a slow burn, you know. So it takes a lot of investment, which I feel like one of the reasons why so many of the younger generations have kind of been lost is that there are not enough devotees who are willing to invest in the long term in the youth. It's more like, they don't want to chant, they don't come to Malanarti. All right, they're a foregone conclusion, you know, like they don't want to do book distribution. All right, forget about them, you know. It's like, and so it kind of works opposite, where like someone who joins, they're really fired up for 5, 10, 15 years, and then they kind of like start to peter out, and then eventually maybe walk away. Whereas with the Gurukul is a little bit opposite. That if you can fan that flame to where they really become inspired, then they will just go and go and go and go go the distance. But yeah, I feel like one of the challenges is that there's not enough investment in that, in the younger generations. Yeah, because for example, like I don't know why this, anyways, like in where I live, there's like a huge generation of young devotees who are really into kirtan. They really appreciate the kirtan, you know, like maybe 40, 50, you know, who all like to play mridanga, like to sing. So it's like, on the one hand, you can say like, oh, like now you have this generation of youth, and all they want to do is sing. You know, I saw one devotee, he made a Facebook post like that. All these kids now, they just want to sing. They don't want to do anything else. And I'm like, what kind of consciousness is that? You know, when I was growing up, nobody wanted to do kirtan. There was no. Everyone wanted to do other things. Nobody wanted to do kirtan. So instead of seeing it as an opportunity, what an opportunity that there's a whole generation that you can catch, you know, while they're still young. Instead, it's like, it's such a bothersome, you know, they sing complicated tunes and, you know, they like this and that. And it's like, so it just kind of really misses the point in my view, you know, where it's like, you can literally create an army of Sankirtan devotees from these youth. Like you can, it's entirely possible if you're willing to invest in them. But instead, we just kind of complain, you know, and you know, they don't go on book distribution or whatever it is. So, but it's like when you invest and you get to know them, you find out actually they like to read. They just don't have the discipline for it, you know. They like to hear. They just, nobody amongst their association has the inspiration enough to create a space for that. So it takes a lot of, you know, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said, it takes buckets of blood to spread the Krishna conscious movement. That applies to our youth as well. You know, blood, sweat, and tears. You know, we make so much endeavor to make somebody a devotee. Someone comes to the temple, train them, teach them how to wear a dhoti, teach them how to clean themselves, teach them how to cook, teach them this, that. We have all these brahmachari trainings and so many ashrams to teach the new devotees and train them. But for some reason, we don't apply that same ethic to our own youth. It's kind of odd to me. You know, so if we invested in the same way, if we cared as much about the youth becoming devotees as much as we cared about making new devotees, you know, but you have all these devotees already. But we want to make new devotees, brand new devotees who will take 6, 7, 8, 9 years to become steady in their devotional life. You know, but here you have a whole generation, dozens and dozens. Nowadays you have maybe thousands of young devotees who just need some encouragement and care. So that's my perspective on it. Is even though it is surprising and kind of it is like, you know, confusing as to why the trend seems to be so low over generations. You know, as far as taking Krishna consciousness seriously, it is an interesting thing. But and of course also, being born a devotee is not a guarantee. You know, that's not how Krishna consciousness works. Bhakti is independent. And the surrender, everyone has to surrender. Whether you're born devotee or not born devotee, Krishna doesn't force anybody. It's not that because you're born devotee, Krishna will force you to surrender. Everybody has to, by their own volition. That is the independence that He's given us. So everybody has to choose it, you know, for themselves. But still, obviously, yeah, it is a great opportunity that we wish would be taken advantage of more. So, yeah. Anything else? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
That's good.
Good question.
Huh? Yes.
No, it's nice to hear it.
Yeah, I just feel, you know, it's such an experience and it's really seeing everything.
Yeah, I mean,
example of somebody who took it serious, so that it's nice to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, like there were so many devotees who invested in me over time, and that you know, once it catches, then it's really good for them.
Yeah, that would have been the next question. How was it for you that you actually, you know, took it serious?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, also because of my parents. I mean, my mom was she was always very serious. But when I went to India, I went to I was in 24-hour Kripa for a year. So that was really like what
For a whole year?
yeah, that really changed everything for me. Yeah, dude, that's like such a powerful stuff.
Right.
So
When was that?
that was 2013.
So after.
Yeah. Yeah. But even still, like, I got so much inspiration from him. And so, yeah, that was really what changed everything. Yeah.
Switch.
Yeah.
Put the fire on the bomb.
Yeah.
So, Manoram,
Yeah, he's a hero.
He's one of these
He's a
heroes.
hero.
I have such appreciation for him. He's
I
amazing.
mean, the amount of like lives that was changed is insane.
Because you know these bus tours,
Yeah.
so many, like that kind of switches to shut many happens with the bus tour.
Yeah, for sure. And even for those who haven't gone through that yet, the fact that they have a relationship with that
So many.
also goes a long way, because then they do, like, for example, they do these like evening Gita readings with the
Yeah,
youth, and it's like they go because of their relationship with that.
Mm.
And So that's kind of the hard part with group foods is you catch them by relationship.
Sure. I mean, even with new people also,
Yeah.
it's always that, and that's the difficult thing to maintain relationship.
Right.
Oh, it's new people.
Yeah.
I thought it's with the Charles people.
Oh, you forgot it here.
No, I thought
Oh,
it
you
was
just
like
saw
that
it.
because what we did in
Yeah.
It's that not what we did.
Yeah. I generally think though that nowadays there are much more youth who are interested in Krishna
Mhm.
than
Yes,
previously,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of
Yeah.
connecting them and also education.
Sure.
Because it's like now there are so many different ways to be Krishna conscious that are not always ideal. And